Diplomat's Archives. Hidden Stories. This is the 52nd story. The image we introduced in our previous story. Taken during the Korean War, it was featured in several magazines and still remains in the memories of many to this day. Among the two soldiers in the picture, we focused on one in particular. Shortly after the Battle of Kapyong, he was photographed helping his wounded comrade. This is his hidden story.
What is your name?
Bill Chrysler,
When is your birthday?
May 4th, 1930.
Which battle did you serve in?
Well, the biggest one was Kapyong. And getting up to that, I don't know where I was. It was one hill after another and where we were moving, so.
His name is William John Chrysler, also known as Bill Chrysler. In 1950, at the age of 20, he volunteered for military service and served in the Korean War with the 2nd Battalion of the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry.
I just wanted to go there then. It's a different world, different thing. I was nervous, of course, but I guess we all were at the time when we joined up to go.
After arriving in Korea, he took part in many battles, including the Battle of Kapyong, where he came face to face with the brutal reality of war. Our team decided to learn more about his story. So we went to meet someone who knew him well.
Hello. Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
But who exactly is he?
Okay, so could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Gregory Chrysler, son of William John Chrysler, and I live here in Korea with my wife and my son.
Gregory Chrysler has been living in Korea since 2007. After meeting his wife, he married her in 2010. Then, in 2013, their son William was born, making them a family of 3. In 1950, his father came to Korea. Decades later, he too came to Korea and built a life here of his own. Our team asked him about this photograph. When did he first come across it?
Not until much later, probably maybe late high school. Yeah, around high school, I became more familiar with that photo. Yeah, it was just the photo. It was just, that's Dad. Wow, he's in a magazine. That's where I think I first got to really understand what that photo was, is when it was in a magazine and he had a copy of it. And it was like, that's me. And I was like, wow. He said soldier was injured in his leg or foot. So he was just helping him back to like an aid tent.
He also shared another hidden story behind the photograph.
He did say that he looked up and he saw the press and he put his head down right away because he just thought about his mom. He didn't tell his mom he was going to Korea. So he was, in that moment, he was like, oh, my mom can't see this. And he put his head down. Yeah.
Beyond this photograph, taken shortly after the Battle of Kapyong, Greg also has many photographs taken by his father during the Korean War.
Yeah, most of them were taken by my dad during the war. He brought a camera with him. Some of these are just scans when he tried to make them bigger when he was younger, but the majority of these are the photos he actually took during the war. I got these early 2024. He came over with my mom and she brought a big plastic bag of all these photos. So I need to start scanning them in before they deteriorate too much.
From these photographs, we were also able to see glimpses of Bill's time in Korea.
This is actually him too, over here. He's the tall one on your right side here.
With the Korean flag.
Yeah, the Korean flag. He said they would find a lot of empty houses around. This says near Kapyong, April 15th. That's about a week right before the Battle of Kapyong. This is him up here. I don't know if he's actually, it doesn't look like he's on the Jeep here, but he said there was a 50 caliber on top that he had to jump on at times. That's him on your left over here. This was when they were heading back to Canada. So the ship stopped in Japan. I don't know how long, maybe a couple nights, and then they would leave for the bigger trip. But yeah, he was explaining how it was the first time in a long time where they could take a break, have some beer with friends and talk. So yeah, that's him over here.
The materials Greg showed us felt like pieces from a museum. Many of them were items we had never seen before. But these were not the only things Bill left behind. Through various interviews and records, he also left vivid accounts of the Korean War and the Battle of Kapyong.
And the other things, I have some books here where he's mentioned in these books or he's provided an interview. So later I'll read those with my son so he gets to see what Grandpa had to say about his time in the war.
Through his records, we came to understand his experiences during the Battle of Kapyong.
The colonel took our bags and gave us a blanket. I thought, do I want a bayonet in the throat or bullet in my head? I don't think so. I was determined I was not going to be caught in sleeping bag like these guys were. Machine gunner Bill Chrysler had no doubt what was in store. We knew they were coming because the South Koreans were on the run. The Aussies, well, we could look right at them and see them getting it. We knew we were going to get it next. A chill went through my spine. As an already nervous Bill Chrysler waited by his machine gun, an absolutely chilling sound came out of the night and his heart skipped a beat. We were overlooking a gully. Something woke me up. Someone out there was calling out, "Bill Chrysler, tonight you die." Somehow they got hold of my name. His mysterious tormentor was wrong. Bill Chrysler did not die that night, but it was close.
Did you have any fear that you weren't going to survive the Battle of Kapyong?
I don't think any of us thought we might not. Few of us there. Because like the colonel says, we don't leave. We're here to stay. You stay and you fight or be buried here. That's the word he gave us. He wasn't going to retreat. So we knew what we were in for. But we done pretty good. Everybody held. I think it was 10 men killed. How many wounded, I don't know.
Bill served in Korea from December 1950 to March 1952 and returned to Canada after completing his service. But his connection with Korea did not end there.
Obviously, the one that is most known is that picture when you see him, and you see Mr. Chrysler coming, helping a wounded soldier from the battlefield itself. And I kind of demonstrate the bravery. But there's one thing about Canadian coming to Korea, is once they come, they want to come back. And so not only he contributed to the Battle of Kapyong, not only he was deployed during the Korean battle, he came back in the 1970s here in Korea to work when Korea decided to buy Canadian nuclear technology, the CANDU reactor, and to establish its first nuclear reactor.
That's right. As the ambassador just mentioned, about 20 years after the Korean War ended, Bill returned to Korea in the 1970s. At the time, Korea was pursuing its first commercial nuclear power plant and working with several countries to lay the foundation for its nuclear energy program. One of those countries was Canada. Bill was dispatched to Korea as a welding technician, where he trained Korean workers in the skill and took part in various construction projects. And one of those projects was the Gori Nuclear Power Plant Unit 1 in Busan.
Now, humbly, we know that obviously one of the gifts of Korea, it is its ability to create incredible manufacturing capability, modern manufacturing capability. And for that, you need energy, and they were desperately needed energy in the late 1970s and 1980s. And we fundamentally believe that the establishment of the first nuclear reactor in Korea was a milestone to jumpstart the Korean economy itself. So Mr. Chrysler was part of that effort of building that nuclear reactor itself. So when I'm looking at Mr. Chrysler, it symbolizes a little bit how Canada make a humble contribution to protect Korea against destruction. And that was during the Korean War. But Mr. Chrysler did not stop there. Not only he stopped destruction, but then his career led him to also help in construction, in constructing the Korean economy by providing a nuclear reactor that would fuel, with its energy, the industry of Korea. And we all know that what it has become.
After serving in the Korean War to help defend South Korea, he later supported its growth and development.
Because I ended up there, I had many schools teaching how to weld and stuff like that. You didn't have to know the language, just had to teach them a skill. I've gone back after, and here's some of these I trained. They were bosses now. And they'd heard I was there, and they'd come and see me. Now I'm like you, he says, I'm a boss now. Made me feel good, though. You know.
He was working all around the world at that time. So he was getting called on jobs to like Italy, Japan, you know, and Korea was one of those locations. And he was especially excited about that, you know, because he could come back and see the country. And he was also quite shocked about how much it had developed. It was a very good feeling for him. It was such a pleasure for him to work with, he said, like groups of young Korean men. He said they were so eager to learn. They were so hardworking. Really made an impression on him. But yeah, the probably the most impactful thing for him was just to be able to see Korea again after he had been there the first time, to see how much it had developed. And yeah, like I said, he was quite impressed.
Not only that, but while living in Korea in the 1970s, he also met someone who would become very important in his life.
캐나다 온타리오 주에 거주하고 있는 윌리엄 존 크라이슬러 와이프 경자 크라이슬러입니다.
Bill and Kyungja first met while working for the same company in Korea.
항상 그 토요일 날 그 오전에 그 서울 사무실로 오면은 자꾸만 그 언더우드 그 매뉴얼 타이프라이터로 내가 그 수표를 찍어줬죠. 그분들한테. 이제 그분들은 다 보면은 어디서 왔더라. 미국에서 오신 분도 있고 또 호주에서 그리고 뉴질랜드에서 오신 분도 있고 캐나다에서 오신 분도 있고 거기서 우리 남편을 만나게 됐어요.
Then, one day, something brought the two of them closer together.
항상 물어봐요. 여기 이 근처에 구경할 데가 어디 있냐? 그렇게 물어봐요. 근데 이제 이 사람들 길도 물어보고 그러면 이제 항상 하는 말이 창덕궁. 길이 그러는 거야. 나는 창덕궁하고 경복궁을 하도 많이 가봐서 거기 말고 또 다른 데 가볼 데는 없느냐고 물어보더라고요. 그래서 내가 동료한테 너 여기 어디 딴 데 창덕궁 말고 그 경복궁 말고 어디 이 사람들 갈 데 어디 없나 그랬더니 동료가 그러지 말고 여기서 조금 나가서 옆길로 쭉 빠지면 그 태평로 가는 길이 있는데 거기에 버스가 오는데 그 버스를 타고 종점까지 가면은 그게 금곡인데 거기 금곡으로 가라 그러라고. 그래서 내가 그 얘기를 해줬어요. 실례되지만 않으면은 나를 그 버스 정류장까지 데려다 주면 안 되냐고 그러더라고. 그래서 내가 가는 길이니까 아무래도 아는 집도 그쪽으로 가는. 그래서 내가 그거 얼마 안 되니까 그러겠다면서 이렇게 데려다 줬어요. 근데
That brief journey together turned into an unexpected connection. It all began at that bus stop.
버스가 왔는데 내가 들어가서 그랬어. 들어가서 Don't get up until the last station. 계속 그랬어. 왜냐면 그때는 이제 셀폰도 없고 진짜 이런 외국 사람이 그 허허벌판에서 잊어버리면 그게 어떡하겠어. 진짜 큰일이지. 진짜 그건. 그래서 내가 걱정이 태산이야. 그래서 내가 그냥 들어가라. 그런데 들어가지도 못해. 바보같이. 왜냐면 사람들이 막 그 몰리는데 자기도 막 들어가는데 들어가지를 못하고 계속 밀리고 있어. 그 키 큰 사람 혼자서. 근데 너무 걱정이 되더라고요. 그래서 내가 계속 그냥 밀치고 들어가라고 그랬더니 Why can't you come with me? 그런 걸 Why can't you come with me? I'll buy you dinner. 막 그런 거였어. 내가 속으로 디너? 그래가지고 그럼 뭐 갔다가 오면 밥 사주면 밥 먹고 오면 되겠다 싶어가지고 이제 갔어요. 갔는데 이제 그게 비기닝이었죠.
What started from that moment eventually led to their relationship and marriage. After getting married, they moved to Canada and built their life together there. But Kyungja says she only found out after their marriage that her husband had served in the Korean War.
전혀 몰랐죠. 전혀 몰랐어요. 그런 얘기도 안 하고. 근데 그때 금곡에 갔을 때 들어가면은 거기 능이 있고 또 그 사당이 있고 그 앞에 그 동물 모양의 그 돌로 깎은 그런 게 있잖아요. 이렇게 쭉 있잖아요. 근데 거기를 이렇게 만지면서 나 여기 옛날에 왔었어. 근데 이거 두 개는 부러졌는데 그러더라고요. 그래서 내가 뭔 소린가? 그리고 이제 다른 대화로 넘어간 거예요. 근데 이제 캐나다 와서 나보고 보여줄 게 있다는 거예요. 그래서 그 지하실에 내려갔더니 뭘 하나 갖고 올라와 앨범을. 근데 아주 오래된 그 빛바랜 흑백 사진을 이렇게 꺼내더니 딱 보여줬는데 그게 금곡인 거예요. 금곡. 우리가 갔던데 진짜 그 돌 두 개가 이렇게 부러져 있더라고요. 어머머 너무 놀란 거예요. 그래서 내가 그러면 왜 그때 얘기를 안 해줬어? 그때 그런 얘기를 하고 싶지 않았고 또 그렇게 얘기를 하다 보면은 자기가 굉장히 이모셔널하게 된대요. 그래가지고
Bill's first visit to Kumgok was not the one he made with Kyungja. He had already been there during the Korean War.
그러고 난 다음에 그게 뭐지? 본물 터지듯이 하루도 안 빼고 한국 얘기를 하는 거야. 한국 그 전쟁 얘기 하루도 안 빠지고 하다못해 식사를 할 때도 조금 우리 아들이 냉기면은 전쟁 당시에 그 얼마나 배고픈 애들이 그 애들이 눈에 선하게나 하여튼 뭐든지 거기에 연관돼서 얘기를 하더라고요.
but the memories of the war did not easily let go of him, even after many years had passed.
Growing up, he actually didn't share much about that. And I realized more when there was a movie that came out. You know, the movie Saving Private Ryan. You know that movie? So that I remember when that movie came out and people talked about how realistic it was. And you know, I ended up getting a copy at some point, and I was like, Dad, we have to watch this. This is going to be a good movie, because he loved to watch MASH, but that's kind of like a fun sitcom. When I put the movie on, they had that opening scene where everybody was trying to get to the beach, and it was pretty bad. And he actually had like a panic attack, and that shocked me. It really shocked me. So after that, I also didn't really talk too much or ask him too much about that.
The memories he shared vividly reflected the horrors of war.
We moved into one spot, and an older fellow came there, and on my half track, I had a big saw, axe, and that, in case we got to cut stuff down. He pointed at my axe. He wanted it for some reason. So I let him have it, and then I followed him. His wife's leg was all damaged and maggots all over him. Chopped the leg off. And he tried to clean it as best he could, That part sticks in my mind.
Bill experienced the horrors of war firsthand in Korea and later contributed to the country's industrial development by taking part in nuclear power plant construction. But above all, it was here that he met his future wife, with whom he would later build a family. In a way, his life goes beyond a personal story, reflecting the shared history of Korea and Canada.
I think the history of Mr. Chrysler, who may rest in peace, is a very good example and almost a good analogy about how Canada has contributed to not only the security of the peninsula, but to Korea as a whole. So what does Mr. Chrysler achieve here in Korea? He achieved the protection against destruction, and he also participated in a humble way to the construction of Korea.
In November 2024, he passed away, leaving behind a life that spanned 2 countries. And his final journey led him back to Korea. Here, at the United Nations Memorial Cemetery in Busan, he now rests in peace.
Was your father one of the reasons you came to Korea?
More out of convenience, I would say more out of convenience. There was just kind of this, it was just funny between us all that at a young age, my dad went to Korea, and then later he went back to Korea and found his wife. And then here I am coming to Korea and I'm finding my wife, and we always got a kick out of that. He always said it must be in the DNA. So I wouldn't say no, there was no intentions there. There was just an opportunity for me to come to Korea at that time. I took it, but I ended up kind of following the same life path as him in terms of finding my my life partner. Hi, Mom.
Although Bill has passed away, his family still lives in both Korea and Canada, continuing to connect the two countries.
How are you?
I'm okay. Everything there, everything same as people except one. One is missing, the dad.
Yeah. You miss Grandma?
Yeah. Whatever you want, it's okay.
He wants to.
And there's someone else in Korea who continues to remember and miss him.
My name's William Chrysler. I have the same name as my grandpa because my dad thought it would be good to have the same name as my grandpa. I've been to Canada a couple times. I know my grandpa well. Like, I've had a good relationship with him. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed a lot of time with him together, and I was also really sad when he passed too.
William also carries his grandfather's life in Korea in his memory.
I talked a lot with my dad about him. He always said that he was proud about it, and I usually saw like pictures of him in war in the house there. It was so interesting to see that my grandpa is from the Korean War. Yeah, it was just super amazing to have a grandpa that went to war, and yeah, I was always proud about it, yeah.
William's talking about going to Canada on his own. He says he would like to just go visit you by himself.
Yeah, I think he's brave enough. Yeah, Grandpa always told you, be brave. Do not be afraid. Remember?
Yeah, I remember. I remember Grandpa telling me to be brave.
Your dad went all the way to Korea by himself.
Yeah.
You know, he survived it, so you can do it too.
Or maybe
And both Greg and William miss Bill very much.
Maybe, yeah. I just remember going to the mall with him. I remember watching movies with him, and his old little scooter where he rides around to get the mail. I remember riding that with him too. I really miss those days, and when I think about it nowadays too, it kind of makes me cry a bit because I know how cool he was, how much of a great grandpa he was.
I'm proud to have a father, especially now that I'm living in Korea. I thought he would always, get a kick out of that I settled in Korea, the country he fought in. It wasn't anything outside of that's my dad. That's just the person I knew growing up who was raising me. But definitely the stories that I would overhear with my dad, it gave me a sense of pride, and even more so being half Korean, half Canadian.
Bill has passed away, but the legacy he left behind lives on. And Korea and Canada remain firmly connected, built upon the personal histories of individuals like Bill.
빌이 항상 그렇게 한국은 자신의 진짜 일부다, 내 반신이다 뭐 이러니까는 그 한국이 그렇게 빌이 사랑하는 한국이 앞으로 진짜 더욱더 진짜 평안하고 발전됐으면 하는 바람이죠. 한국하고 캐나다는 그 진짜 특별한 관계죠. 특별한 관계보다 더하죠. 왜냐면 전쟁에서 싸우다 피로 맺어진 친구 같은 그런 관계니까, 그죠? 그러니까 그거를 나는 그 젊은 사람들이 그거를 잊지 않고 계속해서 나는 그걸 이렇게 이어나갔으면 하는 그런 바람입니다.
Canada's participation in the Korean War became an important milestone in relations between Korea and Canada. And the Battle of Kapyong, in which Bill took part, has become one of the most significant symbols representing the history of relations between the two countries. The ambassador says that when remembering the Korean War and the Battle of Kapyong, the most important thing is to ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain.
The best tribute that Canada and Korea can do is actually how we move forward together with regards to the challenge of the 21st century that we have. It means how our institution, the Korean military, the Canadian Armed Forces, can continue to work together and actually enhance that work together. And both countries are taking very, very concrete steps right now. For example, both countries signed an agreement that enable now both countries to share classified defense information together. So what Canada and Korea needs to do to honor the Kapyong battle is to make sure that the sacrifice were not in vain. And by cooperation, by even bringing the two forces together, this is how we can pay the greatest tribute to what was achieved in the Kapyong battle. If Canada can continue to contribute to the security of the peninsula, if Canada's and Korea's trade relation can continue to expand, this is what Canadian and Korean can do together to pay the greatest contribute of that achievement. Prime Minister Carney, the current Prime Minister of Canada, said it best during a speech at Davos. He said at Davos that middle power needs to stick together. And this is what I meant by paying tribute to the Kapyong battle, because this is how Canada and Korea can stick together, move forward together, and continue to be reliable partner, trustworthy partner, and like-minded partner.
75 years ago, Bill Chrysler came face to face with Korea at war. And decades later, he returned to Korea and became part of the country's growth. The memories he left behind have been carried on by those who remember him, and they still remain in both countries today. Perhaps history is not shaped only by great events, but also by the memories of people and by the connections that people leave behind.
Oh, all I can say is I am proud what I did, because for what I seen at the start, what I seen just since I was there last time there is amazing, and how the whole world has changed for them. And I'm glad I was part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.